Hello, I'm Dr. David DeRose. I'm a specialist in internal medicine, but you don't have to be an orthopedic surgeon to see problems with joints. Any of us who are in clinical practice, we have seen our share of people with knee problems, hip problems, back problems, you name it, shoulders, neck. We, it seems, are in the midst of an epidemic of arthritis, and the question really comes, is there a missing link to preventing arthritis? I think there is. I think one of the things that is just simply not on the radar screen of most lay people and even most professionals is hemorrheology. If you haven't heard me talk about this subject, it's very likely, if you're like many of my audiences, you've never even heard the term. Hemorrheology refers to blood fluidity. I use a term, the Methuselah Factor, to refer to hemorrheology because it's connected with so many things that can help us live longer and live better. Let's talk about arthritis. Researchers from Finland pulled together over 200 medical studies, and they found a compelling link between poor circulation and low back problems. Other researchers have looked at joint health in the knees in young individuals, and they found that early indicators of osteoarthritis, the common form of arthritis that affects the knees, were connected with poor blood fluidity markers like elevated fibrinogen. Now, if that sounds like complicated language, fibrinogen is simply a clotting factor, and as the levels of fibrinogen go up, blood fluidity worsens. So the connection they found in that research, worse blood fluidity, a tendency to more indicators of joint problems with the knees. Whether it's the low back, whether it's the knees, there are these connections, but nothing drives it home perhaps as powerfully as a real-life story. Some years ago, a guest on my radio show, Dr. Edgar Viemeister, an orthopedic surgeon, shared an amazing story. We'll call the fellow Bob. Bob was going in for a hip replacement. He had severe hip arthritis. But while he was being prepared for the surgery, he was under anesthesia, something terrible happened. He had a heart attack. Now, if you've had a heart attack, that might not sound all that terrible, but my whole point is if you're expecting a hip replacement, you don't expect to wake up in the heart intensive care unit, the coronary care unit, and being told that you just had a heart attack and you didn't get the hip replacement. What's so amazing though about Bob's story is that heart attack motivated him to change his lifestyle. He got on a lifestyle that, although he probably hadn't heard the term, was designed to improve his Methuselah Factor or improve hemorrheology. After 6 months, his orthopedic surgeon said, well, I think we can do your hip replacement surgery. But Bob had a shocking response. He said, I don't think I need that surgery. My hip is feeling much better. What the suggestion of Bob's story is that his changes in this missing link, the improvement of blood fluidity, had actually gone a long way to helping with his hip arthritis. You say, okay, this is all well and good, but what did Bob do? And what can I do that can improve my blood fluidity and can help my joints? Well, we talk about 30 different strategies in our book, The Methuselah Factor. It's a day-by-day plan. So over 30 days, you're making serial changes. But I've got to tell you about one in particular because I want to give you something that you can really incorporate. And I'm turning to around page 144 in the book where I tackle a common problem, and that is sleeplessness. So right here on these pages, it's actually chapter 25, we're talking about sleeping right and how that can improve your blood fluidity. And here's the deal. Someone can tell you to do better with sleeping, but if you're not already sleeping well, your response might be, well, what can I do? I'd love to sleep better. So what kind of things can you do to sleep better? Well, let me give you a few pointers, and these are some things that often we miss doing, at least in our busy society. The first one is to be on a regular sleep schedule. If you don't deviate the time that you go to bed, your body will lock into that timing will tend to help you wind down at an appropriate time. You say, that's impossible. My schedule varies too much. Well, then try this. Have a sleep routine. So even if your bedtime is not at the same time each night, the same type of things will happen prior to going to bed. These can act as what chronobiologists or time biologists call Zeitgebers. It's actually a German term that means time giver. So for example, if every night before going to bed you listen to some classical music and read something, your body will connect that with time to wind down, and it'll help you be more ready when you actually hit the sack. There's some other things though that can help your sleep be better and more restful. One of them has to do with when you eat your last meal. What I recommend in the book, I say it this way: keep evening meals light and at least 4 hours before bedtime. Here's the reason why. Although eating may make you feel sleepy, if your blood sugar is rising when you lay down at night, it will blunt the production of something called growth hormone. Growth hormone is very important for the normal restorative functions of sleeping. With that point, let's bring ourselves back to joint health. Maybe you've heard stories of an athlete who was using growth hormone following a joint or bone injury. You're making the connection, hopefully, that this growth hormone is important if you want optimal joint health. I'm not recommending you take growth hormone supplementation, but I am recommending this. Boost your own growth hormone levels by getting adequate sleep and having your blood sugar falling, decreasing as you go to bed. And the way you do that is eat a number of hours before going to bed. Don't eat anything in that last 4-hour or so window before bedtime. Well, hopefully you've gotten a new perspective on what just may well be a missing link when it comes to preventing joint problems like arthritis. It's hemorrheology, blood fluidity, something I call the Methuselah Factor. One way you can improve it, getting better sleep, and you can improve your sleep quality by doing simple things like being on a regular schedule, having a common routine before going to bed, and then making sure you go to bed on an empty stomach. I'm Dr. David DeRose, really trying to help you connect with the missing links to better health.